What age were you when you started learning music? High school choir? Middle school band? What about piano lessons at age 8? Or for some folks, even earlier, like 2 or 3 years old? Or even earlier? How early does early childhood music education go? Welcome to Zeitgeist Radio, where we learn about musical scenes from people who are in them. I'm Morgan Rowe, and today I'm speaking with a retired early childhood music educator who not only ran a successful program, but she ran the kind of program I grew up on. This episode was really exciting to me to interview as an adult someone who built the pieces of the program I started with. There's definitely some reminiscing involved, and if you watch this on YouTube or Spotify video, you can see an unboxing of my old music bag. Fun times. If you love this, be sure to subscribe. My guest today is Jacque Negus, a retired early childhood music instructor, specifically Kindermusik. And Jacque, welcome to Zeitgeist Radio.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And I showed you a little before, but I'm going to show you for those of you who watch on YouTube or a video, we're going to talk about Kindermusik today, and I have my Kindermusik bag. You can see it's well worn. Does this look familiar, Jacque?
And I can't believe you still have that. That was a while ago.
Do you know what's in this box?
I do.
We'll get to it, people. This
And you've got
this bag.
Yes. And your strings and your dots to make the stack.
Oh, yeah. And then
folder. Yep.
So very excited to talk with you because we'll get into my history with Kindermusik. But first, can you give us a little background, Jacque? Who are you musically?
Sure. And thank you again for inviting me. I came from a family of, I can't say musicians, but people who loved music. I grew up in a rural area, so there wasn't a lot to do, but my grandmother was the resident piano teacher, and so everybody learned how to play piano. She was of the school of hit people's hands with the ruler if you played the wrong notes. So you can tell how long ago that kind of thing would have been. But I learned to play the piano, and also she taught everyone to sight sing from the hymnal from the church. And so music was just a very, very prominent and important part of my childhood. However, when I went to college, I was a nursing major, but I seemed to not be able to stay out of the music building, and I kept taking classes and in the choir the first semester, and so the following year, then I changed to music education. I was not positive that that's really what I wanted to do. I love to sing, I love to perform. Didn't know if I really wanted to teach. But like so many people in my age range, once you got out of college, you had student loans to pay. So I got a job right out of college teaching general music and choir to grades 7, 8, and 9. And it was a rude awakening. In one class, I met opposite PE, and I had 50, 7th grade boys all in one class. And it didn't take me long to kick chairs and throw erasers. So I learned on the job. But I loved that job, and I found out right away that, yes, being a music teacher is really what I wanted to do. So that really was the start. In terms of Kindermusik and early childhood music, that came out of trying to find something for my own children. So when my oldest son was still little, 18 months or so, I took him to a music and movement program. We lived in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and it was primarily Orff-based, and it was fun, and he liked it. My husband's a musician, a professional musician, so we have a lot of music in our house, and but I came away from that thinking there's just got to be more. I liked that, but I don't know. So I started just researching and trying to find a music program for little ones that would really serve what I felt was the best possible scenario. I found online Kindermusik, or just by reading and talking with people, there was one program in Chicago,
In
which is
all of Chicago.
in all of Chicago,
Wow.
about an hour from me. So I went to visit this lady who was teaching it, and I was absolutely hooked. So it wasn't long that summer. There was a teacher training class being offered in Princeton, New Jersey, which is where my in-laws happen to live. And so I went and took the teacher training class. And I think that you mentioned that you might want to know about my beginning with Kindermusik and how that started. And that was really it. To,
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's really quick take a second and can you talk, because you mentioned Orff before. Can you just share really quickly who that is, Carl Orff?
Yes, Carl Orff was a music educator, and his kind of claim to fame, and Orff is still very present in nearly every music education program. It's about music and movement. Anything that happened with teaching of the music happened to be with the movement. There's a set of Orff instruments that came from his program as well, basically setting up barred instruments so that you could change pentatonic scale. You could change to different scales with the bars, drums, that type of thing. And really, it's primary and basic in all of music education programs for children.
Yeah, and for those musicians who may know, this is the same Carl Orff who of Carmina Burana fame,
Yes.
which many people are at least aware of the O Fortuna. Go look it up if you don't know it. You'll find that you know it. So he was a
Well,
composer as well. But going back to Kindermusik, so you went to Princeton, New Jersey.
yeah.
What was it there that kind of captured you to where you were like, I want to do this, like really do this?
The woman who actually created Kindermusik was Dr. Lorna Heiga. Now, Kindermusik is not going to tell you that. So
Interesting.
may want to be careful in
Okay.
how you present it. Lorna Heiga was the teacher trainer for all of Kindermusik at that point in time.
Sure.
And I can tell you it was almost like a religious experience. I hate to be so dramatic about it, but as I sat and listened to her talk, and truthfully, this was her sitting under a beautiful tree and all of us sitting on the ground in front of her, grounded with our shoes off. And she talked to us about the importance of what we did with our children between the ages of birth and 5, and how that was such an instrumental time to be teaching music because developmentally speaking, there was so much that we could have them experience, and it is all about experience, not teaching, but experience.
Yeah.
Through those little bodies that can sway and move and sing in their own way, and about how important just for their lives, for the lives of others around them as they grew and as they grew up. But it made so much sense to me when I looked at my own child and saw how quickly he could learn things and how excited he was about life, and how a leaf blowing around could just be the most exciting thing in the entire world. And so because I had my own child right at that point in time, and and I was an older mother, so this was really exciting to me. And all of life changed for me, truthfully. It changed in the way that I parented. It changed in the way that I dealt with other people. It was all about kindness and openness and exploration, and seeing things in a different way, looking at someone else's way of looking at anything, really, and just being mesmerized by it and open to it and celebratory of it. So that was a life-changing experience for me, and I came home knowing that this is really what I wanted to do. So I did. I set up a program.
And then there were two in
And then there were
Chicago.
two, and Jessica came along, and I just think of her being in her little carrier over in the in the corner, pulling her out to balance her when it was time. There was no beginning, or there wasn't a program for babies at that time. The program started with, I think it was two-year olds up through. We had young child then, though, the red bag that you have. I started teaching that right away because that was an instrumental part of that program, too. Yeah.
Yeah, so side note, my mom plays French horn. I told you this earlier, but for my audience, so during Peter, she was Peter and the Wolf. She was always the wolf.
Yes.
And I have very early memories of my mom being in the room, and it was so cool because it was my mom. I was
Right.
so special. So you decided to become a teacher.
Mhm.
You helped create some of the materials that are used in the curriculum. Can you
Yes.
talk about that? What are those materials?
Yes, actually, in a couple of different ways, we were involved in that. When I mentioned that Dr. Haiga was the creator, unfortunately, there was a separation of ways between Dan Pratt, who was the other person involved in the creation of Kindermusik, and he was more the business side of it. Uh, and I have no idea what the problem was, but they could not see eye to eye, and so they parted ways. And so at that point in time, Lorna went off and started another program, which is still going today, called Music Garden. Another very, very wonderful early childhood music program, all kind of based on the same thing. But when that happened, of course, Lorna left and she had been creating curriculum, and Howard Bear, who had been the person doing all the music for the program, went with Lorna. And so new people needed to kind of come in and take the place. And I ended up being involved in doing teacher training at that point in time. So I traveled around the country in the summertime and taught Kindermusik teacher training classes. And because of that, also did some of the development of curriculum, more so from an underside place. You're not going to find, well, you'll find my name on a few things, but mostly I wrote for the program. And Linda Swears was another person who was very instrumental in writing at that point in time. And she and I worked together a lot. But then the other thing that is much more prominent, and this is something that you would see from our household, is that Howard Bear, who was the composer, the arranger, absolutely stellar, amazing music for children in that he could write a musical line and then weave around it counter melodies that were so simplistic but beautiful and clear, and for the children could hear that they knew the sound of that French horn, the sound of that oboe, and could hear it in the way that he created melodies. Well, my husband is also a composer, arranger, producer, and we're kind of like, well, what do you think? Can you do this? And he kind of studied what Howard was doing, and we realized that Howard was the master of this. But John began doing it, and he ended up creating some absolutely wonderful music for Kindermusik. So we did that in we had a studio at home. He he produced more than 70 CDs, over
Wow.
700 tracks of music for Kindermusik, and
Oh my
nearly
goodness.
anything that you would find. They're still using some of them. So nearly anything that you would find under the name of Our Time or Beginnings, Village, I think they've changed the names of some things now, but I'm pretty sure they're still using the same tracks. And we did that for a very, very long time, many years. We were involved in that. And you can hear every one of us on the tracks, John and I, all three kids. You can hear John as a young girl singing on those tracks. And we had because of John's business, he sang and played with the best people in Chicago who were doing recording, doing jingles. So we were able to incorporate all of those people, very high level musicians, into the recordings that we did for them.
That's amazing. So my audience who may not know, can you talk about the structure when we're talking about recordings? What does that mean in the classroom? And can you talk also briefly about the different kind of levels of Kindermusik, starting like what we probably should have started with this, but what are those very early ones, and then as you get older?
Yes, and I have to be honest, I tried to look that up a little bit before speaking with you today, but they have changed, I believe, the names of things, but I think that the levels remain the same. So there's a program for 0. You can bring your newborn baby as soon as you feel like the baby can come out with the other people. And move that baby through space and sing. And that would go up to about maybe 1.5 walkers, just walking. And then there's a next level that's walkers up through maybe 2.5. The third level then would be 3-year-olds up to 4-year-olds. And none of this was ever, it was never set on age. It's all developmental. So, if a teacher said, I think the child's ready to blah, blah. And then, of course, young child, the 4 through 6-year-olds was the oldest group. The first 2 levels required a parent involvement, hopefully the mom or dad, but a grandma or grandpa or a caregiver. And then when they get to be 3 to 4, then they would come by themselves, and obviously up in the last level by themselves. It was very important in the Kindermusik realm for parents to understand that Kindermusik teachers believe that the parent is the best teacher, and that we're just there to facilitate music making for you to take home and do with your child during the week. You come to Kindermusik once a week, but the rest of the time, you are the music maker with your child. And so those home CDs were meant to be played at home for the parent, mom, dad, grandma, whomever, to sing at home and keep the child involved in it all the time, all week long. And I know even my grandchildren today, they want to hear the Kindermusik song. They want to hear the tape, and they're old now at this point.
I know. I'm thinking it was a cassette tape for me, not a CD.
You're right. We started off with a cassette for sure. That's exactly right. But all of those home packages, that was one of the reasons when I have to say that when I got started in the 90s, it happened to be a period of time where many moms were staying home to raise kids. It isn't so much like that now, and it hasn't been for quite some time. Moms were home, but families were transient. And so a lot of these young moms did not have a grandma or a great-grandma to help with raising that child like we did, 100 years ago. And so Kindermusik became a place then for young moms to come in and not only find camaraderie and friends, just friends within this program, but learning also all the things that Kindermusik teachers are taught in their teacher training about child development, about what happens now. And yes, if Johnny's racing around the room when he's 3, don't worry about that. He's fine. Maybe little Mary is sitting over here quietly in her mommy's lap, but that's fine too. And all of the things that parents need to know about to make them comfortable. The babies don't come with a instruction set. And unless you've had some experience yourself, I never babysat, even though we had a large family. I don't know why I didn't, but boy, I hated it when my mother left me to raise this kid. My husband was gone a lot, and so I was there. And Kindermusik gave me that opportunity then to connect with other parents.
I think that's actually really important. I I shared with you again before. I just had a baby, and it is. I related to every single sentence you said about it being a transformative. I'm also kind of an older mom. This is my first. I see things different. I'm seeing things differently now, and I do remember in Kindermusik, my mom would share with me what developmentally was going on with me. I remember learning like the shapes with the dots, and you trace with
Yep.
your voice, you boop, 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 and how that's training your voice to go up and down and being able to control it. So I think that's really interesting, and I think kids absorb it all too.
So much more than you would think. And sitting in a Kindermusik class, even though you may not even realize it, that child is going through a process of cognitive uh, sequences. When we're moving them, especially to a steady beat, that's developing those neural passageways that we always talk about, and stimulating the vestibular system in so many different ways to help them learn and grow. And mostly for me in a Kindermusik class, it was all about the joy of community, of music, of learning and being together and loving those little ones. And I think one of the most important times for me was when a group of, in a class of parents would get comfortable enough that somebody else's child would run to somebody else's lap. And that was just the best, that everybody could feel was so free to just really experience it, parents and children alike.
Can you share some of these activities? Like what types of activities were, at least in your mind, kind of stand out as
Yes,
really
of
key
course. Of
ones?
course, that each level is different because it's based on developmental activities. But some things were standard, and that would be a hello song to begin with. That was also the goodbye song. So there would be recall for the child listening to the pitches, and even there we're saying, sing hello, hello, and goodbye, goodbye, but it's still the same melody and rhythm that they're hearing each time. Also, within that hello and goodbye song, particularly the hello song, there would be an opportunity to greet each child individually every time they come to class. It wasn't just, oh, yeah, we're all here. Now we're going to go do this. No, the teacher had an opportunity to look at one sweet little face and say, would you like to wave to Miss Jackie today? Oh, let's wave. Let's wave. Hello, hello. I go on from that. And then in between, every class in some form, and again, different because of the developmental levels, but there would be purposeful movement, not just running, but purposeful, active listening, and that was something that was very important to me. I had a teacher who was fabulous. She actually ended up taking my program over when I retired from it. But she would take something in her bag and say, "Oh, I have something in here." And she'd pull out something, a drum, a bar, a melodic bar, a triangle, something, but like it was, oh, the most wonderful. And then, ding. And the children were mesmerized by that. I kind of stole that from her too. But that active listening is so important. Our children today are bombarded with noise, and how I wish that every kid would have an opportunity to take Kindermusik or another program like that teaches them to just focus in on just one beautiful sound. It doesn't happen very much these days.
It's crazy to me as you're talking, the memories that are coming back to me that I have completely forgotten. I remember like listening to the triangle like until
Oh,
it dies
yeah.
away. Has
And
it
you,
got, can you still hear it? Can you still hear it? Can
yeah,
you
oh,
still hear it?
absolutely.
And then like wiggling when oh, it's all gone. You can't hear it anymore. I had no idea
Yeah,
that memory was
it's in
still
your
in me.
bones.
Wow.
It's there. There would
Yeah.
always be, especially for the little ones, a reading. I don't think we had that in Young Child, the older one, but a little book, so that there would be a time where they would come to read. For the littlest ones, there was always a quiet time. And that would be when we would
Yeah.
put on a piece of music that would be restful. And that would hopefully help the moms and dads to be able to use that piece of music as a rest time at home. Actually, any of the music then would be like if there was a cleanup time and there would be a time for to put things away. Let's put else away.
I know that
Let's
song.
put else away. Yeah, and so that could be used at home as well. Everything in Kindermusik was purposeful. It took a lot from the Montessori concept of prepared environment. It's one of the reasons why Kindermusik teachers have a pretty hard job, because you need to have it set up and prepared for the children when they walk in the room, no matter how many classes you've got back to back. But it needs to feel like just fun and we are playing. They should never feel like anything is structured at all. So everything is prepared for them in advance, and yet there's a lot of leeway in where they go. Follow the child is the battle cry of Kindermusik. Follow the child. There's a lot of leeway in your lesson plan. During teacher training classes, I would tell people, plan, of course, well, this is true in any teacher training, not just Kindermusik, but plan a lot more than you think you're going to need. And then that way, if you need to take a left turn, you've still got lots of activities that can follow that left turn that you just took in order to follow the child.
I'm curious, some examples. You gave an excellent example of the active listening. What about the purposeful movement?
That would be, for instance, high and low. And the piece of music would be jump up, my baby, 3 in a row. And it would just keep going from that. And so that we would learn when the music goes up, you go up. When the music goes down, you go down. If the music says, that would be one thing, take the scarves. And if the music says, it's just flowing and beautiful and we're butterflies now and that type of thing. But when the music changes, then we're bunny rabbits and we hop, 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 hop. So it helps the child then learn to understand that the music is used in different ways. And, one of the things I used to say all the time to parents, but when you realize that music is a part of everyone's life, whether you think it is or not, it is. When a disaster strikes in this country, what do? We all get together and we sing the national anthem. Or when there's a funeral, there's music being played somehow. Or when there's a wedding, there's music being played. Even if it's music outside and the birds are singing, there's music in everybody's life. And when the children learn to incorporate all of these different movements with the different types of music, they can experience it intrinsically, from the inside, viscerally. They feel it. They don't just hear it. They don't just sing it. They feel it, and they feel all different types of music, depending on what kind it is and what the tempo is, what the timbre is, on and on.
I did some digging into Lorna Heige after Jackie recommended I be careful in how I present this. She is known as a co-founder of Kindermusik, so I don't think it's unreasonable to deduce that she had a major impact on the program. There's a book about her called A Song from the Heart, The Pedagogical Philosophy of Lorna Lutz Heige, Ph.D. She went on to found Music Garden, another early childhood music program, as Jackie stated. But there are others too. Maybe you've heard of some. Suzuki is super common with string instruments. The Kodai method, music together, there are several. So if you're interested in Kindermusik and they don't have a class near you, there are some other options for you to check out. I did notice that Kindermusik has a virtual class available as well. If you're enjoying this conversation, please take a moment to like Zeitgeist Radio on Facebook or Instagram. Or if you're really loving it, you can sign up for my newsletter on my website at zeitgeistacademy.com/radio. I send out content about cool things I learned from my guests. And of course, from this episode, I'll be sending out a newsletter on early childhood music programs. Now, let's get back to Jackie. Let's talk about some of the older kid stuff.
Well, I love that you have your
I'm gonna pull out
that
my
you have
little... Can you tell me about this?
Oh, the glockenspiel. That was our way to teach the scale. And so children would learn about now up and down as they're older, developmentally they're older, and up and down for us on a keyboard or a glockenspiel, and an instrument like that. Up is to the right, down is to the left, and then able to keep a steady beat. If you want on the fifth, we would be able to do that. We'd be able to take bars off to make a pentatonic scale, and then, we'd be able to create, and everything sounds good because it's pentatonic, and use it also just to score a story. Something might be going on, and you use your glockenspiel to play raindrops and that type of thing. But basically, it was to teach theory. The glockenspiel was used to teach theory.
My teacher had xylophones as well. Is that standard in every Kindermusik classroom? And most of the time, the bars were mostly off. There were like 2 bars, or maybe 3, or you'd have two kids to a xylophone.
Yes. Well, and that is a fortunate teacher if they have the Orff instruments, the barred instruments to use, because I was also fortunate to have those as well. But that way, you can set 2 kids to a xylophone, like an alto xylophone, and so you've got a place where everybody can learn how to bring the music up and out of the bar, and play and sing anything that just needed that drum, that fifth, which there's just, there's a myriad of music that you can use that with. And of course, Kindermusik again, well, maybe I didn't say this before, but a lot of folk genre. Not just American folk, but folk music from all over the world, really. And so you could use the xylophones in that way, which is exciting for a child to be able to make music like that, and it sounds good. The kids know whether it's just hammering or whether it's making music. They know.
And it's funny because it's actually, the xylophone looks odd to me that it has all the bars on it. I think most of the time they were off, and it was really only maybe the last year or so of the program that we put the bars on. But they still have the dots.
So you know where to plunk.
Yeah. I have a memory of being mystified how my teacher knew which bars, because she'd be changing the bars all around, in class. Which ones do you take off and put on? How do you know? That's fun. I think the other key Kindermusik thing is the drum.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that goes back to that steady beat that we use just immediately from the womb, when we're doing music programs, and keeping that the heartbeat, steady beat that comes along, and that the children learn to react to the steady beat just like they would pitch up and down. Now a steady beat means fast and slow. And so if you take your drum and you go a little faster, and by the way, running in Kindermusik means on your tiptoes. Otherwise, you got Henry over there zipping around the room. But learning how to internalize them, the different tempos that you can experience together just with you, nothing but that drum, no words, just the drum.
And is it a traditional activity in Kindermusik to make your own? Because we had our drum day where you'd get the rubber and the coffee cans and you decorate it. Oh, I might have to go show you my drum at some point. But yeah, we made our drums and then we took them
Yeah.
home
Oh,
and
how fun.
we would beat along with the tapes, I guess.
Actually, I think the camp program, which was kind of right at the end of my tenure, did some things like that and the reason being, we had lessons every week and they built upon each other. And so if you missed something in the lesson back here, then the next week, you have your 12-week program. You kind of had to stay on a schedule. So I love building a drum, how wonderful, but it probably would have put me behind lessons. So I didn't, it's Kindermusik is not as creative for the teacher as it is for the child. Because I know there were lots of things that I thought, oh, we could do this. I have to say, though, that in the way you can take care of that, I always had these big things at the end of semesters. And that was the time where it was a y'all come kind of thing. And, I could have all sorts of parents had to come as well. And, but we would have learning stations. And that was the time where we might do something like that. Never built a drum, but we did other things.
Well, you just need a big old coffee can and some pieces of rubber and some string. And then you've got a drum. I'd like to hear the same scenario from 2 points of view. So say I am a mom and I know music is good for the brain. I don't know much more than that. I walk into my first ever Kindermusik class. What do I see, experience? And then I'd like to hear the same thing from the teacher side. But first, if you could set the scene from a mom perspective or a parent perspective.
I would hope that a mom could walk into a very welcoming space that has color, but not too much to overstimulate the child, but some color and some comfort. Maybe a pillow someplace so that if mom needs to go sit with a child in the corner, and then there's a pillow over there to sit, you would find places for people to leave shoes or leave coats, to put them off to the side so that we could all gather. And then there would be a gathering spot. Now, I did something that a lot of Kindermusik teachers really frowned upon, but it helped me. I made a path, and my path would be either a big circle or oval. And that gave me an opportunity then to say, would everybody come to my path? And then that way, I found that parents they knew where to come. They could come, they could see my tape on the floor and, come to the blue path and just have a seat wherever you'd like to. So that made them comfortable to come in. And then right away, we would sing the hello song, which I spoke about before, and moving not so quickly that it would feel rushed, but move from activity to activity to activity without stopping, without having a time where you go, oh no, what's she doing now? For instance, if you had to look down at your book for the lesson plan, game over. Those had to be memorized so that you could move from one activity to another. And then the parent or the mom, in this case, we're saying a mom came in, could feel very comfortable about just moving from one thing to the next. Rocking, say the baby, your baby's going to Kindermusik. Now we're rocking the baby. Now we're moving. Now we're up on our feet and we're moving the baby this way and that. Now we have the baby laying out on the floor and we're doing a nice little light tummy rub. And now we're taking baby's legs up and down and up and down and very purposeful, but very calm, very soothing, very friendly, and most of all, very joyful. And if you're doing it right, the mom feels like she's gone to have a massage at the end of the program, at the end of the lesson. Now, if you've got a fussy baby, I'm not going to say that Kindermusik will take care of that, have an off day, and that's just the way it goes. But hopefully the music the child will at some point learn that this is now our calming time. This is our time. the other thing about Kindermusik that was so, well, not the other thing, there are many things, but it was so important to me that the program asked parents to come. This is not going to drop your child off. This is very look into your child's sweet, beautiful face and have this time, even if it's only 30 or 45 minutes a week. This is your time, just especially if you've got multiple kids. This is your time. Just, and I would have people say, "Oh, can I bring my other one?" My answer was always no. And I'm sorry, but no. I'd like to help you with that. I know some kids who babysit. I can do that. And Kindermusic's was kind of expensive, but at that point in time, again, mom stayed home, but parents seemed to have money. So the answer was always no. You cannot bring another child into the class. This is your time with just that one child. Hard to get that. Um, yeah, I think joy and comfort would be what I would want for that mom to feel.
Now let's take that same lesson, like first day class, from a teacher perspective. What are some things that you are looking at as a teacher? What have you done?
The Kindermusik program is a prescribed lesson, but it has a lot of flexibility in it. And I would say, from the teacher's standpoint, you've got to be extremely organized. The preparation on that, I mentioned before, Montessori, prepared environment. The kids don't know it's all set up for them, but it is. And I found that as I got busier and busier, I had a harder time remembering music. So I began to put posters up on the walls, and I found it helped my parents anyway, because if we were just learning a piece of music, then it was up on the walls, the words. I'm not a proponent of just giving people word sheets to sing. I like notes. But at that point in time, a lot of my parents weren't musicians anyway, so that the word sheets did help, and it helped me as well, because, as I said before, the teacher needs to be continually moving, continually pulling the lesson into the next thing. There are no breaks in it. So the teacher needs to be sure that he or she has. I don't know any men who are music teachers. I don't mean to be sexist there, but I don't. But the teacher needs to be very prepared before that class ever begins. I think maybe once I came unprepared, and actually I had nightmares about that I hadn't prepared, and it was just because I was trying to take another teacher's class over who was ill. I had 7 teachers who worked for me. I had a very large Kindermusik program. I think at one point in time, we had 500 children a week coming to our program. And the woman who actually bought it from me, the one that I was saying before, was a wonderful teacher. And also, you can hear her on it. She was a beautiful singer. You can hear her on our CDs. I think her high number was 750. She was one of the teachers who had a maestro program. That's what Kindermusik called them when they were wow, that size. But when you have that much going on, the person who is at the top of that really has to be aware. I didn't teach very many classes myself, but I needed to make sure that I knew every lesson in every class that we were teaching, because I was always the one who needed to step in. So from the teacher's standpoint, okay, so that's the pedagogy part. But past that, the biggest responsibility for the teacher is to exude that joy of music making, to present the fact that you love doing this. You love doing this. This is not just a job. You don't make that much money anyway. But this is not just a job for you. This is something that you love, and you think it is so absolutely important and vital to a young child's life that you're just glad everybody's there. for them and for you. I love it.
That's my teacher. I don't know if you know Angie LaFon and Helena Montana, but yeah, most joyful. But literally, when I picture her, you have those early
Yeah,
kind of golden
yeah.
memories where certain kind people are surrounded by like a golden haze almost. that was that was Angie.
Oh, I love that.
Wow.
That's wonderful that you had that experience. That's great.
Stepping out a little bit, looking at early childhood music education,
Mhm.
what are some of the key concepts if you could encourage a parent to participate with their child or to take their child to an early childhood music class? What are some key things that you would share, regardless of the type of program specifically?
Yes, because I've taken my grandkids to some wonderful programs at the libraries. And I have to be honest, they always all depend on the teacher. If the teacher doesn't understand that a small child only has vocal cords that are this long, they'll sing, "The bear went over the mountain, the bear went over." And it's like, and you got these little ones who, even if they wanted to sing, they can't possibly match pitch in that range. And so I would say be careful of looking for a person who does have some kind of music background, who understands that if you're going to take a music program, the person that is teaching the class does need to know something about the child voice. And then also that the person has some experience and understanding what it means to do movement that is purposeful, to do listening, musical listening that is purposeful. I guess what I'm saying is that the teacher needs to have some background and some instruction in music. Lots of people love kids, and that's great. And okay, so you can work with kids in a lot of different ways. But if you're going to teach music, if you're going to say, I am now teaching a music program, I would I would ask parents to be sure that you check with who the teacher is, what background do they have. Many Kindermusik teachers were piano teachers first, but they had to take the training in order to be able to teach. And during that training, then they were taught things that you really needed to know about a young child's demeanor, a young child's developmental aspects, a young child's voice, a young child's movement capabilities. You know, when do they skip? When do they learn to skip? You don't ask a child to skip when they're two. So that to me would be the most important thing. Check your teacher's background.
Nice. All right. So I have one last question that I ask every guest on this podcast. There's a moment I'm calling a zeitgeist moment where you connect with something like that spirit of the time that you're in. This can be connecting closely with like a here and now moment, or it can be a moment of intense connection to something in the past. So I will ask you, what is a zeitgeist moment that is either memorable or recent? And while you're thinking about that, I'll share mine with you. I remember performing, like you mentioned, the end of the year recital or showcase or whatever. I don't remember what she called it, performance. And I was in the older program because I remember playing the xylophones. And there was this moment where I just, like, I got it that I was playing with the whole class. We were all beating as one. We were all in the same rhythm. And there was this just really special moment where I feel like I might have understood for the first time that we were all here playing for a separate entity that was the parents, like that separation. And I just remember it again being a very golden time of us all just playing. I don't know what we were playing, but it was just the beats. Um, but that was the first performance that I remember. Hi, Morgan here. Unfortunately, Jackie's internet got really choppy as she was sharing her Zeitgeist moment. So I'll step in here for a minute. She shared that how she's conceptualizing a Zeitgeist moment is all about connection and community. One time when she first started teaching the baby class, it was something brand new. And there was a child who had not really graduated out of that baby class yet, was probably about 18 months or so. She said very verbal. And Mommy and Daddy were both there, and they were doing a song where they were sweeping her across the room and kind of passing her back and forth. And in the middle of it, she said very loudly, "I just love this." It was a moment. Connection again, community. Music can connect you in ways that nothing else can. And yeah, of course, her mommy and daddy were there and paying attention to her, but this also stems from using music to create that type of environment. Jackie worries about the future of these programs and the kids too. She says the ages of 0 to 7 are so important, so formative. And for both moms and kids, the community and the connection through music is everything. I certainly think we can all agree on that. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Zeitgeist Radio, and thanks to Jackie for joining me. Please follow me at Zeitgeist Academy on Facebook and Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel with the same handle, so if you want to see my old Kindermusik bag, you can watch a video version of the podcast. Don't hesitate to reach out with a Zeitgeist moment of your own. I always love to hear from fellow music lovers. Thanks for listening.